a 170-kilometer long mirrored city rising from the Saudi desert. No cars, no streets, and no emissions. Just two massive skyscrapers stretching the distance farther between New York and Philadelphia, stacked with homes, parks, schools, and even flying taxis. This is NEOM, Saudi Arabia's trillion-dollar gamble to build the world's most futuristic city from scratch. Launched in 2017 by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, NEOM is Saudi Arabia's boldest bid to reshape the economy before oil becomes worthless underground. But here's the twist. Costs are exploding. Construction is crawling. The line, once mirrored to be 170 kilometers, may only stretch 2.4 kilometers by 2030. Entire villages have been demolished, deadlines missed, and billions burned. What happened to NEOM? Why is the world's most futuristic city fading from the spotlight? And the bigger question is, could this trillion-dollar gamble actually push Saudi Arabia to the brink of economic collapse? And in today's video, that's exactly what we're going to find out. To understand that, we first need to ask, why is Saudi Arabia pouring billions into the desert in the first place? And the answer to that starts with something big. It's called Vision 2030. And before I explain what that is, let me give you some context first. For years, almost everything in Saudi Arabia ran on one thing: oil. It paid for roads, schools, buildings, and even the royal family's lifestyle. But what happens when the world starts using less oil? What happens when oil prices are so volatile and expected to tumble by 2030? That's a scary thought for a country that depends so much on just one resource. And that is when Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, also known as MBS, stepped in. He saw the future coming in fast, and it wasn't all about oil. And in 2016, that's when he launched Vision 2030. And what is it? It's a bold new plan with a goal to make the economy stronger, to bring in money from other countries, and to stop depending so much on oil. And the crown jewel of that plan? NEOM. But this isn't just about building another city. MBS didn't want to patch things up. He wanted a fresh start. And NEOM was his way of saying, let's build something completely new. A city that runs on clean energy, a place run by smart technology, a city with its own laws and rules, with a system built to leave the old system behind. He wanted it to be a global hub for innovation, tourism, and investments. A smart city powered by solar and wind, with robots handling everything from deliveries to security. NEOM would attract tech giants, build research centers, and test new ideas, from flying taxis to underground trains. It even promised smart schools run by AI. Saudi Arabia's public investment funds pledged $500 billion to kickstart the project, with hopes that foreign investment would bring in the rest. It was a bold move to reshape how the world sees the kingdom. NEOM isn't just one city. It's a group of futuristic zones, each one more extreme than the last. But how do you even begin to build something like this? At the center of it all is a 170-kilometer long city with mirrored walls and tall, stacked neighborhoods. No streets, no cars, just a narrow band that's 200 meters wide and 500 meters tall. That's almost twice as tall as the Eiffel Tower. And it's supposed to fit 9 million people in this small space? That's a huge dream. But is it really possible? By 2030, the line was meant to hold 1.5 million people. But now reports say that only 300,000 might live there by then. And instead of finishing 170 kilometers, they may only build 2.4. That's less than 2% of the full plan. So what happened? Even on paper, this project sounds unrealistic, to say the least. Picture trying to fit more people per square kilometer than cities like Manhattan or Manila, all inside one long and narrow strip. People would get around by either walking or taking underground trains. And in the summer, the desert heat can hit up to 50 degrees Celsius. That's halfway to boiling point. Every single space in there would need power, cooling, and water distribution systems. Can the line stay green while doing all of this? NEOM says it's going to run on wind, solar, and hydrogen. But most of these ideas haven't worked at this kind of scale before. Even the new water plants might harm the nearby sea life. And it doesn't stop there. Another area called Oxagon is rising on the Red Sea. It's a floating city shaped like an octagon, and it's set to become the world's largest floating structure. It's planned as a major hub for shipping, robotics, and hydrogen energy. Then there's Trojena, a ski resort in the middle of the desert. Yes, I'm not kidding, a ski resort in Saudi Arabia. It'll have fake lakes, glaciers, and a 330-meter tall skyscraper designed by Zaha Hadid architects. And it's supposed to host the 2029 Asian Winter Games. Sindalah is NEOM's fancy island gateway. It has marinas, golf courses, and 3 luxury hotels. It's actually already opened. It opened in 2024, but it was 3 years late, and the costs were almost triple of the original budget. But that's not all. There's more zones on the way. Leja, Epicon, Sirana, Elanan, and Aquilum. Each one more difficult to pronounce and sounding more like science fiction than the last. Take Aquilum, for example. It's a hidden city inside a 450-meter high mountain, and you enter it through an underwater tunnel. Kind of like a video game, right? But okay, what's really happening out there in the desert? Satellite photos and insider reports tell us a different story. Most of the land is still untouched. Work is moving slowly. In some places, only 2 buildings have been built, while in others, none at all. And those shiny mirror towers of the line? For now, they're just computer renders. Even the scaled-down version is falling behind. The first phase of the line was supposed to stretch 5 kilometers by 2030. Now officials have quietly admit it's only going to reach 2.4. Contractors have started to let workers go. Deadlines are being pushed back behind. And internal projections for residents have plummeted from 1.5 million to only 300,000 by 2030. And meanwhile, other projects like Trojena and Oxagon are still in early development stages. And Sindalah, despite finally opened 3 years late and triple at the original cost. But behind these bold designs lies an even darker story. To make space for NEOM, Saudi officials had to evict thousands of people from their homes. The Huwaitat tribe, who've lived there for hundreds of years, were told to move out. But what happened when some said no? They were arrested, and some were even killed. Abdul Rahim al-Huwaiti, a local activist, was shot and killed in his own home after refusing to leave. And other members of the tribe were sentenced to death just for speaking out. And the world took notice. A human rights group raised alarms. But the evictions didn't stop. And inside NEOM itself, things weren't much better. Former workers have shared troubling stories. Bosses yelling at staff, setting impossible goals, and pushing people too far. One CEO even bragged about treating everybody like a slave. So how did Saudi Arabia respond? They hired US PR firms to fix their image, but no amount of spin could hide the truth. Then came the money problem. When NEOM launched in 2017, it was tagged at $500 billion, but now estimates have ballooned past $1 trillion. Some even saying $1.5 trillion. And for perspective, that's 25 times Saudi Arabia's entire yearly budget. So how do you pay for something this massive? In 2024, the kingdom cut NEOM's fundings by 20% due to falling oil prices. And the Public Investment Fund, the project's main bank, saw its cash reserves drop to its lowest point since 2020. And Saudi Arabia's budget deficit continues to widen. According to the IMF, oil prices need to stay at around $96.20 per barrel just to break even. But global oil prices remain well below that mark. If this trend continues, the kingdom risks running out of fuel, both literally and financially. And what about outside help? Foreign investment is still uncertain. Saudi officials hoped to attract private investors, even trying to list NEOM on the stock exchange. But that hasn't happened. While deals have been signed with huge firms like McLaren, Samsung, and Bechtel, they're not enough to cover the rising costs. Construction delays and controversies have made internal investors very nervous. In 2025, an internal audit uncovered deliberate manipulation of NEOM's finances. One consulting company, which was hired to advise the project, was paid more than $130 million in a single year. So the stakes at NEOM couldn't be higher. If Saudi Arabia can't close the funding gap, NEOM, Vision 2030's crown jewel, could crumble under its own ambition, taking the kingdom's grand economic future down with it. Whatever happens, one thing is clear though. NEOM isn't just a construction project. It's a bold new experiment to redefine the way that we work, live, and power our cities. Whether it succeeds or fails, it could reshape how future generations imagine the world around them. Alright, you guys, this is the part where I ask you, what do you think? Can NEOM rise from the sand, or is it destined to collapse under its own weight? Let me know down in the comments. And if you would like to see more construction deep dives, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on what's next. But that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you ever so much for watching and sticking to the end, and I'll catch you in the next one.